Hi, it's Kerry from Pilates, just rubbing my hands, getting them warm so we can get ready to do 30 minutes of gentle, sort of mobilizing gentle Pilates, standing, sitting, lying down, and you can choose any of those options at any time. I will just keep giving you different ways to do things so it works for you. That's the really important thing. Can you believe it's February already as well? Time is whizzing by. So we'll start with our feet a bit wider, whether you're sitting or standing, and we'll just have a little, what's the word, sway, that's the one, side to side. And then find a place in the middle and put your hands on your chest, one on top of the other. And you're just giving yourself a little stir, you're just rubbing your chest in circles. It's warming. Sometimes it loosens your chest off if you've had like chest infections or colds and coughs. A lot of that around at this time of year. And as you're doing this, let yourself breathe in through your nose, out through your nose. Just nothing fancy, just breathing. That's it. And then pause and take it the other way. Now you might find as you do this, your body wants to move a little. Go with it. And you might be thinking about what position to go into. So you could, if you like to lie down on a bed for some of this, sitting on the edge of your bed is nice, where you get your feet on the floor, but you've got a bit of firmness of the mattress behind you, underneath you even. And then rest that down. And from here, we're going to go into pelvic tilt. So I'm going to turn to the side so you can see my seated ones. So if you grow tall first, so just have a little wiggle on your feet or on your sit bones, the bumpy bits of your bottom. And grow tall, like you're about to receive a crown and someone's going to just place it on the top. From here, take a wide breath in. And what do I mean by a wide breath? I mean, imagine that you're filling your waist at the sides. So send that breath in. And as you breathe out, it's like you're pulling your belly back from something cold. It's suddenly touched that's cold. It goes, oh, it just pulls back. And as I do that, you can see my bottom just rolls back slightly. If you watch the hem of this top here and just see, that's me rolling forwards. This is me pulling back a little. You can see my back just very slightly sort of lengthens and rounds. And then we're going to rock forwards. So that's the seated version. If I do it even smaller, you can see my head and shoulders don't even move, and just my pelvis moves, just that part of my back. Who have we got already? Irene, Christine, Jean and Jackie, you are all with us already. I hope you've got started. Right, we could place our hands on our thighs if you're doing this standing. Check your feet are pointing forwards. Slight softness in the knees, it just makes it a little bit more comfortable for most of us. A wide breath in, send that to your waist, widen your waist. And as you breathe out, imagining something cold in front of your belly, you can place a hand there if that helps. And just pulling your belly back from there. Your bottom does nothing, by the way. Your bottom doesn't squeeze or tighten. It's all from the belly. And then as you breathe in, it pulls forwards. Breathing out, it moves back. You can see my bottom just sinking down. Breathing in, it comes up. It's like a magic little butt lift. That's it. Last one of those, and then just have a little wiggle all over in your clothes. If you've got something baggy on, I like these warm baggy sweatshirts, they're all fleecy inside. When it's really cold, I can go right up like that, make things very warm. So just have a little wiggle inside that. If you've got loose leggings on, you might wiggle inside those. If you've got tight leggings on, you can't really wiggle inside them, so just wiggle all over. And then could you grow tall, sitting or standing? Tap the back of your head just for a bit of sensation. And then if you're comfortable to, close your eyes. And we're just going to take one ear towards one shoulder, one ear towards the other. But I want you not to pay attention to your shoulders or your ears. I want you to think about the back of your head and this little shape it's making. It's like a sort of windscreen wiper curve. And your face keeps pointing forwards. It doesn't tilt one way or the other. If it feels like it's tilting, you can either put a finger underneath your chin, and that connects to the pivot or little prayer hands, or you can put a finger on your nose, and that's your sort of pivot point Looks a bit funny, but it does the job. And then we'll go for some neck circles. So I do a sort of horseshoe shape. I don't do a complete circle, but some people like to. And then you're really working on my chin. It comes down, it comes a bit closer, and then it pulls further away and my neck stays long. It's got to feel nice. So you might be doing this smaller than me, or you might be making more of a circle. Come back to the center, and then we'll move one shoulder in a bit of a circle and the other. One, and then the other. Make it big and breathe in as it comes forwards and up. Breathe out as it goes around the back. Breathe in as it comes forwards and up, and out as it goes around the back. And you'll notice you're getting this little twist at the waist. So we'll just lean into that. We'll let that happen. And now could you take an elbow up? And we're going to make that bigger, a bit more exaggerated. That's it. So your elbow is leading the way. Now I'm going quite high. My shoulders are feeling quite rested and happy at the moment. But if your shoulder's a bit uncomfortable, you just take it lower. So it's more like you're stirring something lower down. If you can go really high and pointy upwards, go for it. You know your shoulders. And then bring your hands back to your chest where we started with those stirs. And we're going to take a breath in. And as you breathe out, just send your chest underneath your hands up a little. If I show you from the side, it's a small movement. This upper part of your back here above my hand, it doesn't have a huge amount of movement, but it's got a little bit of movement. It's the bit that makes us feel a little straighter. It's the bit that makes our chest feel more open. And one more of those. And then take it downwards and swing your arms forwards and backwards. Now, if you're on a chair, just watch out for banging the sides of the chair. That's it. And then we can start to take it into more of a rotation. You can see my legs are moving. If I was doing this in the chair, I would do it in a sort of swishy way. But you could also do it in a slidey way. That's nice if you want a bit less rotation. Maybe you've got osteoporosis or osteopenia, and you know that you can only rotate so far. That slows it down a bit too, makes it a bit more aware. And then come back to face the front, and we'll give your feet a wipe, a rub on the floor. Bring a little bit of heat back to them, in their shoes, in their socks. And now we'll just take our toes up and down. Now, if you need to hold on to anything for any of these, please do. So you might use a stick, or you might be holding on to a mantelpiece. Now we're going to take our feet, not our feet, heels, that's the one, up and down. Take your arms out to give you a little help with your balance. That's it, just some way. My knee is having a little click there. And now make it a little faster and softer. It's like someone's inflating you and the air is pumping up into you. That's it, take it down. Take your arms out to a T shape. Your palms are downwards. It can be a straight T. It can be a soft lower T. It's all good. So in that T shape, now we're going to drift the palms forward so they're facing the screen, but we keep them, it's like they're floating on some glass or some water. I think I would rather think about floating on the top of the water. So they go out to a T, and then they come forwards, out to a T, and then they come forwards, out to a T, and then they come forwards and stay there. The elbows are going to nudge back, and you can see that moves the whole arm back again. It's like it's still on this water, and it's just having a little squeeze back, and the shoulder blades getting closer towards your spine. They're sort of hugging in and spreading out, hugging in and spreading out, and then take it down. Give everything a little wiggle. And then could you stand proud or sit proud? So you take up more space, legs are wide, feel your chest a little upright. Could you send your, let's have your thumbs forward, arms down by your sides. There's a bit of a space, like you're making a sort of an arrow shape. There we go. Now rotate your thumbs to the sides and back, and then forwards. We'll go proud again. So the thumbs face forwards, and then they're going to rotate round to the sides and then round to the back. It feels like my chest wants to go up a bit more. It's sort of opening things out at the front and it's extending the back. And another one, breathe in. As you breathe out, and let that air out. Breathe in at the front and breathe out as you open. You don't have to do it that way. I'm just suggesting a way into it that just brings your breath a bit more mindfully into things. And one more. Lovely. And then give your feet another little wipe. Can we go for a little shift from foot to foot? So if I was doing this standing, it looks like this. I'm going to pick a side. And if you're doing it sitting, it looks like this. And then you pick a side. And then we take one foot off the floor. It might be it hovers. It might be you lift that leg up or you hold it there. It might be a bit of your foot stays on the floor. So however you're doing it, I'm going to come onto this leg, grow tall, take the other foot off the floor and just look ahead and look at something. So I'm just looking at my wall. I'm trying to find a bit of shadow on the wall. And just look at that. And maybe you can give your head a slight move. You're still looking at it. It's like the tiniest little no. And then the tiniest little yes. And then to come down. Oh, that one's hard. I'm going to do the next one sitting down, but could you shift your weight from foot to foot, from sit bone to sit bone? I'm going to have my hands on my chest for sitting down. So I'm doing it on my sit bones now. And then I'm coming over to this side. I'm just going to hold it and grow as tall as I can and take this other foot off the floor. Just going to hover it, that's it. Now I'm looking at something ahead. I'm on a bit of picture frame. And I'm going to nod to it first. Tiny, tiny nods. And then tiny, tiny nose. And then take your foot down and give your legs a little, a bit of comfort stroking, bit of massage. Oh, well done. I hope you all managed that one. It's good to challenge the balance and that tiny movement of the head. And it needs to be so tiny, especially the first time you do it. But it's really good for working your balance. Right, now we're going to go into a little hip hinge. So if you're standing, we can send the bum back. And I'm just pressing into this crease where the leg meets the body. That's our sort of hip crease. And my legs are a little wider. We can send the arms forwards. Now, if you're doing this sitting, you can do it with your hands on your chest or your hands on your knees. You could also do it as a sit to stand, which is when you hold the chair and you just see my bum just hops up. It's like I'm just about to get up. You could even get up if that's okay for you. And then feel for that chair behind you and sit down. And as I do that, my gaze is somewhere ahead, like I'm just about to go to the kitchen, that sort of feel. So we've got that going as well. And then we're going to change it with a bit of side stepping. So we've got that movement, that hinge. Maybe you want to bend your knees forwards and make it more of a squat. If you're happy to, you don't have to. It's just all these different things we're doing. And then we might step one way and the other and do that movement again. And if I was doing this sitting, little step to the side, or a step, step. And then I might just send the weight down to my feet, but my bum doesn't really leave the chair. There's just like a tiny gap. I'm going to pull my ribs back a little bit because I can feel my back's just starting to arch. It's a bit uncomfortable. And then do those little side steps. That's it. And if you really fancy it, if you are standing and you can do your hinge or even your squat, we can go for them little sideways walks. These are good ones to do with if you've got a little loop band. And you can put it on your thighs or over your ankles. And it soon works these outside bits of the legs. And then we're going to stand up tall. We're going to do that proud stance tall. Proud stance again. So standing tall, sitting tall. I can feel my chest going up. Let's have the thumbs forwards, the arms a little distance away. So we've got this arrow shape from the end of our fingers up to the head and the other side. Turn your thumbs outwards, so they go almost behind you, and then back. You can see my head just wants to go up as I do that. I'm doing that sitting, take up the space. Imagine you're on the train or a coach and you're like, I'm having both seats. That's it. Pushing my feet down to the floor, pushing my legs down to the floor so I feel the thigh muscles just jump up as I do it. That's it. Oh, and let's have a moment's rest. Just going to grab my drink. One more move before we go down to a lying down position. So if you can cradle your head, I'd like you to cradle your head, and your arms are quite open, but you can still see your elbows either side. Otherwise, bring it here if your hands aren't comfortable here. And I don't particularly like that because it tends to force the head forwards. So just like touching the hair is good. And see if you can hold the arms just there. So we're going to take one elbow and it's going to sort of draw an arc, and the rest of the body just sort of follows with it. So there's a little lean back and a lean forwards. The arm doesn't need to move forwards and backwards. I'm sort of getting the body to help me as well. And this is the other side doing the same. Now if I'm doing this with my hands on my chest, it's like this bit of my shoulder is doing it. A little lean, a little, like you're just rotating and then rotating back. That's it. Little lean forwards, little lean back, and a rotation involved. The other side. Lovely. And then we're just going to let the arms swing forwards and backwards. And as they swing forwards, just sending your chest a little up. And you can leave it there, that might be enough. And if you're seated, that's a nice way to do it. Could you take your legs a bit wider, either seated or standing? And next, if you want to, you can use that hinge that we've just been doing to come downwards, a bit like you're picking something up from the floor or you're gathering leaves and going to throw them up in the air. If I was doing that one sitting, I would move myself away from the chest of drawers where I'm bound to knock the plant over. But you don't have to go down here. It might be you want to stay more upright and just concentrate on the things going up in the air. And it might be your arms are a bit gentler, softer. That's it. And then we're going to take it down to a lying down position if you want that today, or stay in the chair. I'm going to demo from my sofa and from the mat. So I'm just going to move that chair back. We're going to be lying on our backs, getting comfy. I'm going to get my cushions. And then I want you to concentrate on the bits that need a bit of time to settle. So I always like to rock my legs from side to side a bit because I like to get my back and my pelvis really settled. If you're sitting on a chair, could you sit on about 2/3 of the chair seat? So there's a little bit of room behind you. Could put a cushion behind your back as well, even a folded up cushion, so it feels like you've got something pushing slightly against your back. And then your eyes, we want them looking up towards the ceiling. You might want to give your head a little roll. And let's have our hands on our bellies. So now we're just still. We can feel our feet on the floor. You can give them a little rub if they're cold. Mine are definitely a bit cold. Heating isn't on yet, and the chill of the evening is just going to start kicking in, I think. And then we're going to breathe wide again. So breathing into the sides of our waist. You can even put your hands on the sides of your ribs. And it's like you're trying to push them out. And then as you breathe out, it's that feeling of the belly pulling back. And that when you're lying down, the pubic bone just tips up towards your nose. As you breathe in, it rocks forwards. As you breathe out, it rocks back. So if you see where my pink t-shirt is against the black, you can see the movement as that. My pelvis moves forwards and backwards, my bottom muscles are not squeezing. It's all coming from this area, which sort of pulls away from, imagining a cold surface here. That's where the tension is. And then it relaxes and it comes forwards. You'll feel your waistband at the back drops down, might even push into the floor. And then it comes up. You might even be able to get your hand underneath. It depends on the shape of your back. And last one. And then we'll give our legs a little slide away. Just sliding a foot forwards. And if you're on the chair, could you come to the front third of your chair now? And we're doing the same, the slide away and slide back. And then you can have your hands on your belly or your hands down by your sides. If you're lying down, could you bring one leg up to a tabletop shape? If you're seated, you're good as you are. You could just do a heel raise, so one foot just slightly higher. Now we're going to turn this leg in the hip socket. So it's like you're trying to show me the inside seam of your leggings. That's me doing it there. So it's a little twist. It's not from the foot, it's right from the hip. So think of it starting at the groin bit of your inside seam. And now you can lengthen that leg away and bring it back, and lengthen and bring it back, straighten it up and take it down. I'll show you with the seated. If you're lying down, have a go at the other side. So here I am seated, my knees are pointing forwards. I'm going to take one foot up so the heel's off the floor. Now that's the turn. You can see it more plainly here. So it's a little turn in the hip, just an outward movement of that bone. So it's not the foot doing that, which is a sort of, looks similar, but it's not the same. So it's coming right from this inner seam. And now this inner seam of my leggings, it's a bit more visible. It's like I'm trying to show you the side of my foot. And then I can take the leg a little bit forwards and backwards, maybe just a little. And then let it straighten up. You might want a little sway of your legs in between. Can we go one more each side? So I'm going to do this leg here so you can see this view. There's the turn. So you can now see a lot of the sole of my foot. Lengthen as far as it will. So you might go straight, you might just a little bit. And then bring it back. You could start the whole thing again. And then the other side, if you've got one more left to do. If you've done ballet at any point, you can feel the sort of turnout happening. I mean, it is exactly that. And then when those are done, you can take your arms out in a T or hold the sides of your chair and keep your feet on the floor and just let your knees, it's like they're heavy and they want to go down towards the floor. That's it. And just letting them sway each way. And then come back to the mat. Could you place one hand on your ribs? And could you take an arm by your side? So same if you're sitting, just one hand on the front ribs, quite low down below the breastbone. I want you to keep that contact of your hand on the ribs as this arm moves back and forwards and back and forwards. So your ribs don't do that this time. We're not looking for that. We're just looking for just the shoulder. And so I have to keep a little bit of tension on my belly for that. We're going to swap. So this hand's just holding the ribs down. We're stopping that sort of thing happening. It's just keeping my back still. And this arm is moving backwards and forwards as far as it can. So if you're just moving to here, all good. If you can get all the way back to the floor, I can't quite reach there today. And then we're going to have both arms. Go slow. You haven't got a hand on your ribs, but you sort of know where they are now. And just keep them there. How about taking your legs right next to each other and squeezing them inwards? Keep those arms going. How about turning your feet outwards? So the knees will go apart, the heels are together, but the toes are outwards, making a little V with your feet. Push down a little bit with your feet. Straighten up, bring your knees and your ankles together. And last one, arms towards the ceiling or ahead if you're sitting. And then open out like there's a ball and it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger between your arms. And then smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller until they're parallel. Open it out. That's it. And in. And last one, out. And in. And then take it down. We'll go back to that sway. So let your knees and your feet part. You're holding the seat if you're sitting. You've got your arms on the floor if you are lying down, and just let them sway. Well done. Now we're going to do something on our front. You can either do this sitting, or we can turn over and roll onto our front. I'm just going to show you the sitting position. So sitting on the edge of your chair, I'm going to show you from a kneel position. I'd like you to put your hands, palms, just in front of your shoulders or as close as you can. You can see my arms here at the back. And then I'm going to tap my head and just take my head back a little. Keep that feeling. And now it's just like I'm just taking my nose up and down a little. And as I do that, I'm just going to give my elbows a little squeeze back. So you can see it's a really small movement. That's if you're sitting. If you're lying down, we're going to roll onto our fronts. You don't really need anything under your head. You might have the edge of a cushion so that your nose doesn't squish into the floor. So that's how I would have it. My forehead just touching the edge of a cushion and my hands right under my, not my elbows, my shoulders. Well, that would be so different if your hands are under your elbows. The palms are down. We're not going to press hard. We're very lightly pressing. Your legs are not flopping out. They're active. That means that if I touch them, they feel firm and the feet are pointing away from you. Now, push gently into your hands. Just lift your head and send your gaze up towards wherever your head has been. And then send it down again. So it's a little push into the floor. And you're coming up and down. Whilst you're doing this, imagine that cold tummy again. It's against something cold. When I think of something really cold, I think of something like concrete and how much I don't want my belly to be against concrete. I don't think I'd be doing this exercise on concrete, but the imagination can take over. And make that the last one coming up. And then let your legs flop. Take your hands underneath your forehead. Take your legs wider and give your bum a wiggle. So you're wiggling on the chair, you're wiggling on the ground. You might put your head to one side, your hand as a cushion. And then I'm going to give you options. If you're lying down on the floor, you might like, if you're okay with all fours, to go to an all fours position like that. So legs apart, knees and feet apart, palms on the floor, really press to the little finger side, and then the rest of the fingers can follow. And then we can do a little thread the needle like that. So if you're happy with that, if you're thinking, oh goodness, no, could you come to a seated position in your chair or on the mat? And could you take your hand across the body and then reach down to that gap, and that will do the same thing. So either way, we're doing a little thread the needle, it's called. If you're doing it in all fours, you can open and then post underneath and open and post underneath. So do a few each side. I'm going to swap over to the other side. But I'm really pushing away from the floor, not just with my palms, but this bit here from my shin, my knee, top of the foot. I'm pushing away from the floor. So I haven't got all the weight going into my wrists. Oh no, we're not like that. That's it. And then take yourself to a sitting position. comfortable sitting. So you're on your chair, you're on your bed, you're on your floor, whichever, and you're just a comfortable position for your legs. So I'm going to go in a cross-legged position. And then could you cradle your head again? And we're just going to let the elbows come in, out and in. I'm barely touching my head. I've just got my hands really loosely against the hair. And you could do it lower down like this. And now could you keep both elbows forwards, open one and close it, open the other and close it. Keep growing tall as you do this. I feel myself falling forward, so I don't know if you are too. And then we'll open both and bring the arms down and then scoop up the air and breathe in. We've come to the end. Bring your hands together and into your chest. Gorgeous. I hope you enjoyed it. Always a pleasure to be with you all. I'll catch you next week. I'm going to check out your comments now. I'll send a few little messages to you and I'll see you next Wednesday. Have a good week.